All right, let's dive into what is, without a doubt, the single most important document in the entire life insurance process, the application. You might think it's just a bunch of paperwork, but it's really the foundation for a promise that could be worth a fortune. So what makes it so critical? Let's get into it.
So let me start by asking you a question. When an insurance company is trying to figure out if they should cover you and for how much, what's their number one most important tool? What's the main thing they rely on to make that call?
If you guessed the application, you are 100% correct. It is the underwriter's main source of intel. I want you to think of it like this. It's the actual blueprint for the entire policy. Every single part of the contract that eventually gets built rests on the foundation laid out right here in this document.
Okay, so if we're calling it a blueprint, what are the different parts? Let's take a closer look and really break down the anatomy of the application. Your typical application is really split into three main chunks. First, you've got Part 1, which is all about general information. Then there's Part 2, where they dig into your medical history. And finally, Part 3, the agent's report. This is a piece that, honestly, a lot of people don't even know exists.
Let's kick things off with Part 1. Think of this as the who, what, and where of the whole deal. This is where they get the basics on you. Your name, age, what you do for a living, your income. It's also where you specify what you're actually applying for, the type of policy and how much coverage you want. And super important, this is where you name your beneficiary, you list any other insurance you might have, and you disclose if you do anything risky, like skydiving or if you use tobacco. All right, next up is Part 2, and it's all about your medical and health history. Now, this one's a biggie. It is not optional. It has to be completed for every single application. It covers your personal health history and your family's history, too. The answers you give here might make the insurer say, hey, we need you to get a medical exam. But here's the key takeaway. If they do require an exam, the insurer always pays for it. You won't have to pay a single dime out of pocket.
And that brings us to Part 3, the agent's report. This is where your agent shares their personal observations of you directly with the insurance company. They're basically the insurer's eyes and ears on the ground, making notes about your financial situation, your character, and why you're buying the policy in the first place. They'll also state how long they've known you and whether this policy is replacing another one. This means the agent has a very real responsibility to be truthful to the insurer.
Now that we've got the blueprint down, let's talk about the legal side of things, because every word you write on this application matters. A lot. This isn't just a form, it's a legal document. And there are two key terms you absolutely need to know: representations and warranties. On a life insurance application, your statements are considered representations, not warranties. And this is a massive difference. A representation is basically you saying, hey, to the best of my knowledge, this information is true. If you make a mistake, it has to be a material one, something really significant for the policy to be voided. A warranty, on the other hand, whoa, that's a guarantee that every single detail is 100% accurate. With a warranty, even a tiny, honest mistake could be enough to cancel the whole policy. That's exactly why your answers are treated as representations. So what does material even mean? Well, think of it this way. A material misrepresentation is a lie or a mistake that, if the insurance company had known the truth, would have changed their decision. You know, they either wouldn't have issued the policy at all, or they would have charged you a way higher premium. A classic example, saying you're a non-smoker when you actually smoke a pack a day. That's not a little white lie. That's a game changer, and it's definitely grounds for the insurer to void the policy. And hey, for anyone studying for an exam, here's a huge tip. In any legal contract, both sides have to bring something of value to the table. It's called consideration. The insurance company's consideration is their promise to pay out if needed. So what's yours, the applicant's? It's two things: the truthful statements on your application and your first premium payment. You need both to make the contract legit. Okay, the blueprint is filled out. But before we can ship it off, there are a couple of final, really important checks we have to do. We're talking signatures and how to handle any mistakes.
So, signatures. How many people need to sign this thing to make it official? Well, it depends on the setup, but sometimes it's as many as 3. Let's see who.
For a standard policy where you own the policy on your own life, it's just 2 signatures, you and the agent. Simple enough. But in a third-party situation, let's say a wife is buying a policy on her husband, then you need 3: the owner, the wife, the insured, the husband, and the agent. Now here's a major exam tip, you guys. Who never signs the application? The beneficiary. Why not? Because at this stage, they don't have any legal rights to the policy. They're just a potential recipient. What happens if you mess up? I mean, we're all human, right? mistakes happen. The agent can correct the info, but, and this is a big but, you, the applicant, have to put your initials right next to that change to approve it. An agent making a change without your okay, that's a huge no-no and could even be seen as fraud. And just a heads up, if the application is missing information, the insurer won't even process it. They'll just send it right back, and that'll cause major delays. Okay, but what if a big mistake gets through and nobody catches it until after the policy is already issued? Can the insurance company just rip it up? Well, yes, but only for a limited time. This window is usually the first 2 years of the policy, and it's called the contestable period. After that period is over, the policy generally becomes incontestable, meaning the company can't void it because of misstatements on the application. And this, right here, is why every single detail we've talked about matters so much. Once your policy is approved and sent to you, that application isn't just filed away in a cabinet somewhere. Nope. A copy of it is physically attached to your policy documents. It becomes a legally binding part of the entire insurance contract. Your answers are literally part of the deal. So as we wrap this up, let's go back to that blueprint idea. The application is the foundation for a promise that could last for decades and mean everything to your family down the road. So the real question you have to ask yourself is this: is your blueprint built with the honesty and accuracy it needs to truly last?